In 2019, I was just meditating and having a quiet morning at 4 a.m. when all of a sudden a voice began to dictate text to me. And this continued morning after morning for 4 months until I had actually channeled an entire book called Alchemy of Consciousness. And that really marked the beginning of my journey of becoming a channel. Since then, I've channeled messages for thousands of people through my YouTube channel and hundreds of people with my clients and dozens, if not hundreds of personal channeled readings that I've done. And channeling has become a cornerstone of my work as an intuitive and helping my clients discover their purpose. So in this video, I want to walk you through the 5 steps of how I actually became a channel. And I'm going to also share a 6th step that I discovered about channeling along the way. And I will be curious to hear what you think of that at the end. I also have a free activation to activate your personal and direct connection with God, Spirit, that you can access in the description box below. So I believe that channeling basically works on a continuum. On one end of the spectrum, we have, the identification with the personality self, where you are being you're, going about your life, you're at the grocery store, you're doing work, you're talking with people, and you're fully engaged as your avatar, yourself. And on the other end of the spectrum, we have full-on channeling where you are really sort of emptying yourself of yourself, your personality, and you're allowing God to speak through you. You're receiving messages and bringing through a transmission. But then there's like intuitive moments where you're just sort of getting an idea and you're in the flow, where your personality's maybe not quite so online because you're just so present. That would be a form of channeling. We've all experienced the entire range of this spectrum, I feel. We might just not have given it the name channeling. The fact that you found this video to me indicates that you're really wanting to deepen your connection with your own spirit, truth, God. I like to use the word God. It's one that resonates the most for me, but you can substitute that with higher self or spirit as you please. So the first step that I took to becoming a channel was I learned to meditate. So I studied meditation from a TM meditation, transcendental meditation. And at the time, I was horrible at meditating. My mind was always busy. I was in go, go, go mode. I was a business owner. As a coach, I was kind of in like hustle mode and I could not find stillness. I was full of anxiety. I always had to be moving. And I had kind of gotten curious about meditation because I met these incredible people that were doing transcendental meditation, and I admired they were able to achieve sort of abnormal amounts of results in the world with relative ease. And when they attributed their creative genius to meditation, I wanted to know more. I loved my meditation teacher, and meditation really taught me how to sit still, be quiet, go inwards. And when I did that, I started to have feelings and thoughts bubbling to the surface from below, from within. I began to discern, what's my personality self? What's something maybe from my childhood? What is actually a creative insight from spirit, from God, that's coming up as a gift, that's emerging? And I began to see that the personality is almost like this matrix of thoughts and feelings, a web. And the more that I meditated, the more that web got spacious, and it was sort of teasing out some of the density of that web. And I became less and less identified with the personality self and more identified with just the sense of spaciousness of pure presence. This really was very helpful with anxiety, and I began to feel more peaceful, and I began to kind of seek refuge in that quiet I am presence and that stillness. And at the time, I was quite a busy businesswoman, so that was really, really helpful. So doing that took some years to develop my ability to meditate. But then the next step in the process was I actually began to desire naturally to surrender my will to the will of God. This sort of happened because of a whole bunch of different things that converged in my life. One of it was learning about human design, which you are on my channel where I teach about human design. It's a system based on your birthday. That led me into the idea of surrender, but also I began to connect with this beautiful presence, and it made me want to give my life to something more meaningful. I didn't resonate with the materialistic goals that I was seeing really in myself, but also in my colleagues. I had been achieving quite a lot of success materially in my business at that point, and I sort of saw where that was leading me, and I didn't really find it appealing. I wanted something deeper. I wanted the meaning of knowing that I was connected with God and following really the path that I'm meant to live in this lifetime. So I made some pretty dramatic choices at that point. I ended up leaving Canada and moving to Mexico. I worked with a spiritual teacher. I lived on the side of a mountain and just meditated for many, many hours a day and pursued enlightenment. And I only worked little bits that I needed to in order to have a bare minimum income. My business gradually dissolved as I was pursuing my spirituality and seeing where it would lead me. And so the essence of this step is to surrender your separate personality self to something bigger and to open up to, okay, what does this greater source, this God, this, for me it's God, like what does God have in store for me? How can I align myself with that? So in this space of being quiet and pursuing my connection with God and meditating for long periods of time, the third thing that started to happen was a lot of gunk was coming up. Childhood energies that were distortions, fears, insecurities, even past life stuff. It was like all kinds of stuff was coming up. And so this is the third step, is actually clearing the unhealed wounds, distortions, gunk, familial ancestral patterns that are there within you. All of that needs to be emerging and addressed and healed and sorted through in order to actually become a clear channel. Otherwise, you're always going to be receiving messages and guidance through a distorted lens. For example, if you had a programmed fear of money or scarcity viewpoint and someone came to you and was asking a question you were channeling, you would be channeling through the distortion of that viewpoint. There's no way you would get around it. If it's present, it's going to muddy the perspective that you're able to bring through. I did all kinds of work for many years to clear through these painful feelings and experiences and gunk. And I did that with support and guidance. So I really encourage you to find the people. Like, people will emerge if you're really open to receiving the support to move through whatever's coming up. You'll find the people, and if you find a good person, just invest in working with them. I don't even know how I ended up affording to do all this work that I did, but I did it and I was really committed to it, and I think that's really what it takes. When you do that, you're gonna have a lot of wisdom because you're facing things that so many people don't even scratch the surface of in their lifetime. As I unlocked these painful memories and experiences, I was able to gain the understanding from them and to shift my perspective and actually alchemize them. As you clear through this gunk, the other thing that begins to happen is your natural light, essence self, who you're really here to be, and the energetic signature of your essential self. It's going to begin to shine through more clearly. You're going to begin to really be you as your God self naturally. It's going to start emanating from you. And it gets easier and easier and easier as you tease through these distorted, unhealed aspects for you to actually access real inner wisdom and your inner voice. So that's the step 4, is that your inner voice begins to emerge and it starts speaking to you. So I had this begin to happen where one day I was meditating and I heard the inner voice say, cut off all your hair. And I was like, F no, like no way I'm cutting off my hair. Like I have cute hair. It's basically like a part of my identity, right? And I was like wanting to attract a mate and I really didn't want to cut my hair off. And so I was like, no way. And then I just was sitting there and I was like, oh, wait a second. I'm saying that I'm surrendering my will to the will of God. And here I am receiving this real clear directive to cut my hair off. And I'm not willing to do it, which means that basically my vanity is more important than my connection with God. And so in that moment, I went and I just like cut off all my hair. I was sitting outside and I cut it all off. I looked like a teenage boy. And it took so long for it to grow back. But that was really an initiation. So your inner voice will speak to you. That's the point of decision, where you actually decide with your own free will whether or not you are choosing to acknowledge and listen to what your inner voice is telling you. That is a whole other level of surrender and devotion, is do you actually listen when the voice speaks? That's building trust between your inner truth and the self, your personality self or your avatar. So the more that you surrender and you obey the wisdom that's coming through you, the more you're strengthening that trust, and that inner truth can start to come more and more and more. And that's exactly what happened. The more that I listened to that inner voice, the more it spoke to me. And this is exactly how it works. Like if you can imagine a relationship, if you have a relationship with someone and you're telling them like, hey, I'm really thirsty, and they get you a glass of water, you're strengthening the relationship. If you say, hey, I would avoid talking to that person, they're really abusive, but they keep talking to that person, they ignore you, you're not as likely to give them advice again. The more you listen, the more your inner voice will speak. The more I listened, the more my inner voice would speak, until all of a sudden I was channeling a whole book. I had really strengthened that connection just by receiving these short, clear directives. That's how the voice came through initially, was just short, clear directives. Sometimes, and it was open, because sometimes the voice would be a voice and sometimes it would be just like a knowing or a feeling. Like I might just feel like I needed to go this way, or I might feel like I needed to leave. And because I had all these hours of quiet time where I was actually practicing connecting with myself, it became more and more obvious when I was disconnecting. The other cool thing that happened was every single time I listened to that inner voice, there was a reward. And also when I didn't listen to it, there was practically a punishment. Like there was always a consequence when I ignored my inner voice, and I always afterwards was like, oh, I should have listened. Conversely, when I did listen, there was always a payoff. For example, when I cut off my hair, immediately after cutting the hair off, I received this whole download of this model. It was an intuitive model that I ended up using with my clients for many years. Awesome. So the 5th step is actually just carving out time. So this one is a little bit obvious, but it's also something really important. The reason why I ended up channeling was because I made time to connect with God. And I carved out usually at least an hour in the morning when it was quiet and there were no interruptions, to just sit down and find connection with that I am presence, that pure God presence. When I did that, I might have something going on in my personal life where I might ask a question, like, this is really bringing me disharmony, like what should I do about this? And if I was quiet, I would often get an answer. That's really at the heart of what this book is about. In chapter 12, it's about having this practice of morning stillness. No, it's chapter 11, this practice of connecting. The wee hours of the morning, like before the birds start making sounds, is the best time to connect, because that's when the veil is thinnest between realms and there's this kind of magical quiet. At least for me, that's the best time. So I love, I'd often just like naturally get woken up around 4 a.m., 5 a.m., even sometimes 6 a.m. and have this hour of stillness and then go back to sleep. And I just love that. Amazing. So those are the 5 steps. And then the sixth bonus step that emerged as I channeled, because what happened after was I ended up publishing my book. I started this YouTube channel. I started channeling for my clients. I started channeling a second book. I then began to teach people how to channel. When I began to teach people to channel, I realized that there were things that I was doing that I wasn't aware that I was doing. And one of the things that I was doing was I was intending to connect directly with God, because in the non-physical realms, you can connect with all kinds of spheres of existence and all kinds of realities, and many of them are distorted and they are not of the highest truth and they are not of the highest intent, and they could have their own agendas. Since then, I have begun to, every time I channel for a client, I will ask them, do I have your permission to bring through an energy and a frequency transmission from my personal direct connection with God? And so I'm really setting that intention that I'm really only open to channeling God. My own personal direct connection is always going to come through my prism essence, my filters. Karen, like my personality self is still there. So I always like to just be really transparent about that. But if you are intending to open to receive guidance from your personal connection with God, I would encourage you not to open yourself up to receive guidance from anything but God. I mean, why go anywhere in between? Just go to the highest, go to the most truthful, pure source of truth, love, highest truth, and block out any openings. Don't leave any doors or windows open to communications from anything but God. And that would be a really important way to protect yourself from interference from any other non-physical presence that has another agenda for you. So that's an important piece to add to the mix. I want to remind you that you can access my free guidance on how to activate your personal direct connection with God in a how-to video that is linked below. These days, I still love to channel for my clients. I do channeled readings alongside looking at your human design chart, which gives a lot of a big picture information about really who you are here to be and the role you're here to play. So I will link my reading there for you, and I look forward to hearing from you what you received from today's video, and I'll see you again soon here on my channel. Much love.